Teenage years are often considered to be one of the best times of our lives. It's a period filled with fun, new experiences, and many adventures. But it's also marked by challenges, important decisions, and the chance to learn as much about ourselves as we can. Right now, I'm experiencing this thrilling phase, along with the whirlwind of emotions and thoughts constantly running through my mind. As I grew older, I found myself increasingly wanting to be an adult, just like many children do. I longed for more control over decisions, especially at home, whether it was about where we were going or whether I could hang out with my friends. I wanted to have my own money, decide what to eat, and even choose if I wanted to go to school or not. I just wanted the freedom of choice. I'm sure many of you wished to be an adult when you were younger, right? Maybe except the Little Prince or Peter Pan, perhaps. But do you remember who you wanted to be when you were younger? I do. I dreamt that I could be anyone I wanted. Once I was a surgeon, another time a rock star. One day in September, when I turned 16, I became an adult much earlier than I had expected. Imagine being a high school teenager and suddenly getting many of the rights of an adult person. What would that feel like? But before I talk more about that day, let's take a moment to think what adulthood really means. We all agree that there's more to it than only legal age. It's a concept that can vary based on location, culture, and perspective. What adulthood means can change from one country to another, from one generation to the next, and from one perspective to another. There's ongoing research on the markers and milestones of adulthood that reveals that for Generation Z, adulting means, for example, paying your own bills or putting responsibilities over having fun or personal life. Or it can also mean moving out from their parents' house. However, other people think it may be being financially independent, but only less than 1/3 of the respondents thought that getting their first career job makes them feel like an adult. Gen Z believes that adulthood starts at the age of 27. However, most people still associate adulthood with the legal age of majority, that in most countries in the world is 18. Now, imagine that the rights attributed to adulthood are available to you when you turn 16. You're leaving school, moving out from your parents' house, and getting your first job. And you're entitled to make many more life-changing decisions. Also, parental legal responsibility ends at 16. Actually, you don't need to imagine that, because it happened to me one day last September when I turned 16. I gained many of the rights of an adult in the eyes of the Scottish law. How come, you might ask? Well, last year I studied abroad in Edinburgh, Scotland, at one of their high schools, and I turned 16 while I was there. During that time, I had the chance to explore what adulthood could mean for me. It made me question whether it's truly beneficial to be considered an adult at such a young age. And now, imagine that I have the power of teleportation. Of course, not any Harry Potter, so half of my family come from the town where J.K. Rowling first conceived the story of Harry Potter. And now, imagine that everyone in this room is teleported to a high school in Edinburgh. Just so you know, I never went to Hogwarts. This is what my school looked like. And now, anyone in the audience who's from class 1, put your hands up. You will now be in S4, which is the 4th year of secondary school in Scotland. And soon, in May, you will be writing your National 5 exams, corresponding to basic Matura exams here in Poland. And you're lucky, because this is your last year of compulsory schooling. Now, anyone like me, who's currently in class 2, you will now be attending S5, and in May, you'll be writing your higher exams, which are close equivalent to our extended Matura exams. Class 3, some of you may be in a full-time job now, others more academically oriented. You may be at the university or college. And the third group will stay in school to pursue their academic career through writing advanced higher exams in May. And finally, Class 4, you are no longer at school anymore. That is what being 16 means in terms of education and leaving school in Scotland. In 1991, the Parliament of the United Kingdom passed the Act of Legal Capacity exclusively for Scotland. It gave young people the rights typically associated with being an adult. Imagine that since the day of your 16th birthday, you gain many rights. For example, you gain the right to vote. You gain the right to move out from your parents' house, to leave school. You can also get a job, buy a house, get married, make your own medical decisions, change your name, and even join the military. During my time in Scotland, I noticed several key differences between adulthood is approached in Poland and the land of Scots. For instance, the legal age to vote in Poland, as we all know, is 18, whereas in Scotland, that age is 16. That is the case since 2014, when young people were granted the right to vote in local elections, Scottish governmental elections, and referendums. Young people see voting as a responsibility and a way to achieve change. Recent surveys show that our generation has a unique interest in global matters, climate change, and civil rights. They believe that the government should do more to address society's problems. This generation is kicking down the doors and demanding a seat at the table. That is why I value the Scottish solution a lot, and I see a huge difference between Poland and Scotland. And while these rights and freedoms might seem appealing, they obviously come with their own challenges. For example, the cost of living in Scotland, just like anywhere else, is high, and securing a house or even a mortgage at such a young age can be pretty difficult. Additionally, leaving school at 16 can have an impact on your social life, as many of your friends will still be in school. And also, you may lose access to various student discounts, such as those for public transport, gyms, and other attractions. And finally, you would have more responsibilities, which can be pretty overwhelming at this age. Moreover, many adults don't take teenagers seriously. Even at the age of 16, we still don't have much of a say in various important matters. I believe we should have a voice, especially in those matters which concern our future. And regardless of when adulthood officially begins, young people should be acknowledged and allowed to contribute to decisions that shape their future. Despite the challenges, the ability to make decisions is crucial. But to be honest, teenagers just want to be acknowledged, heard, and given the chance to shape their own future. At the end of the day, whether we become adults at 16 or 27, like Gen Z often believes, the most important thing is to embrace the present moment. And I just think, just live your life, stay positive, and squeeze all of the juices of youth, whilst you still can, because we're only this young once. So, live your life, stay positive, breathe in, breathe out, and live. Thank you.